So is it just a few feet here, 50 feet or so?
Yeah,
or?
it's about 50 feet coming in here, I would say.
Okay.
That's Sandra.
They probably don't recognize you in this car.
No, exactly.
They're looking for that big bus.
Right.
You used to have a blue bus, right?
Yeah.
Now you have a regular school bus?
School bus, yeah. I got
Did your other one die?
No, it was, the brakes were going. I needed a brake job, which would have been expensive. But what happened is I debated the mayor of Lakewood on WOBM. I went down to the station. And,
did you?
Yeah, he was on the phone. I thought I was going to be debating the head of social services. But when I got there, it was the mayor on the phone. So I debated him, and I kind of switched gears since I knew he was kind of vulnerable with the affordable housing in Lakewood. I kind of switched over to affordable housing, and so threw him off base a little bit. But the next day, I got back and I was going around to the camps, and one of the fellows who was living in the bus at the time, the God is Love blue bus, called me and said, "Minister Steve, where's the bus?" He'd been coming back from the library, and it was parked in a parking lot. And he said the bus was gone. So at that point, I knew that the township had towed my bus. So it was the day after I had debated the mayor. Somebody, I don't know if it was
kind of timely, right?
Just don't know if it was a rogue police officer that was trying to protect the interest of the mayor, or if it came down from the mayor, which I don't think so. I think it was just a police officer.
Well, I'm going to stop filming here till we know who would. You were telling me about what the immediate needs were.
Yeah, well, we're right now in the middle of October, coming into cold nights. Colder weather is right around the corner, so we're gearing up for the winter time. We're looking to, again, keep the homeless warm and comfortable for the winter time. We want to provide them with some means of heat, which is going to be wood stoves this year. In years past, I've been working with the homeless for about 11 years. So in years past, we provided propane, but the cost of propane has gone up dramatically. I think it was $6 when I started about 11 years with the homeless. 6 years ago for a 20-pound tank of propane. Now it's up to $20, and that's cheap. That's the least expensive we can find. $20 a tank. So it's become impractical to use propane for heating. It's very convenient. You can regulate it. It's convenient for the homeless, but it's just the finances aren't there. The economy is hurting right now. The donations are down, so the funds wouldn't be there. To try to rely upon that system would be futile. It wouldn't work. So we've got a lot of wood in the area. A lot of the contractors, tree companies, it's hard for them to sell the pine. People don't want the pine because it creates creosote in the flues, and the people have flue fires, so not too many people buy the pine for their fireplaces. So the camp gives them a good place to drop it off so that we can use it. Our flues, they don't last that long. They're a sheet metal. They'll disintegrate before you have any buildup of the creosote. So we're switching over to wood. So we've got some wood in the camp. What we need is a splitter, a hydraulic wood splitter, so that we can split the wood, stack it up, and get it dry before the cold, damp nights of the winter set in. So we need a log splitter. The other things, again, what we're going to need is wood stoves. There's a good Christian company in Holland, Michigan that sells a wood stove for about $150.
Wow.
We can buy it at hardware stores locally, and it's a good wood stove. And so we've used this for the last 2 years, this type of wood stove, and it's served us well. So we need about another 15 of these wood stoves. About half the camp are living in tents right now. Again, the population of the camp is growing. It's about 45 individuals right now. The camp is very racially diverse, extremely racial. In fact, it's almost evenly divided among the three major races. And again, about half the camp is in tents. And anyone who's in a tent now, at this point in time, they're using a small Coleman light lantern to warm up their tent. We tarp over their tent with a large tarp, and that acts as insulation, insulates their tent. It also keeps the rain out.
Is that something else that you need, the Coleman?
Well, Coleman lanterns, propane lanterns. We could use some more of those. And so these lanterns, they also put off some heat besides lighting up their tent. And so for the present time, when the nights aren't too cold, it keeps the homeless warm in their tents. But everybody in a tent, as soon as the weather starts to turn real cold, we're going to have to put them into shanties. A shanty is a little hut. Most of the ones that we're building now are about 12 by 12. It's just a big room, but in there they can have a little propane stove, Coleman stove, or they can cook on their wood stove. When they start using their stoves, there's two little places for pots to go on their stove, and they can cook there. So their shanty is about 12 by 12, and in there they'll have their wood stove, and they can cook on that, and they'll maybe have a bed or two in the shanty, and maybe a couple of places to sit, to socialize with other homeless people. And
can I interrupt you for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any of those here now, or these have to be built before the winter?
Well, we've got some shanties up already. About half the camp is shanties.
Oh, okay.
And so we're going to have to develop more of those. And
you have to have it, in other words, buy another half of what you have now?
Yes, so to put the people that are in tents, what we're going to do right away, though, is build a large community shanty,
okay,
or hut. And in this large community shanty, if the nights get real cold, the days get real cold, the homeless that are in the tents can congregate in the community shanty and stay warm with a big wood stove. And so we're again, just as the funds come in, as people donate their time and energy and materials come in, we're going to do what we can as we can.
Have you ever had an opportunity to organize like a work day, like with a bunch of different churches, like organize a work day where they come in and just do a mess of work? Yeah,
and that's happened quite a few times. Churches will do that, and it's usually the churches that are organizing everything. They call me up, say, Minister Steve, is this a good day if we come down? And they'll come down with a crew of people, and they'll build, or they'll do some project.
Right.
So we're going to need that. There's a couple of churches that are lined up already to do some work, before the winter comes in. So I'm hoping that these churches will be able to build quite a few of these shanties. Shanties, sleeping bags are crucial. We would like to use zero-rated sleeping bags, which means they're rated for 0 degree Fahrenheit. And you crawl into that, and you put a comforter over the top of that. Again, I've slept out in this camp here for 2 winters. This will be my 3rd winter in the camp, sleeping through a winter. I personally, I couldn't sleep in a warm bed doing what I do when I know that there's 8 to 10 females sleeping sleeping out here in this camp. I couldn't see myself, in any better situation or more comfortable than them. I just, couldn't do it. So that's why I'm out here, staying out here. And so the last 2 winters I've had a 0-rated sleeping bag, as well as many of the others out here. You crawl into that sleeping bag at night. What you do is you have your wood stove burning, and it's nice and warm. You crawl into your sleeping bag, you put a comforter over that, you go to sleep, and in about 3 hours the wood stove dies down. It lasts for about 3 hours on a load of wood, your wood stove. And then you sleep. If you don't want to get up during the night to load up your stove, you just sleep through the night, and you have what you do in your shanty, you have your wood stove close enough where you wake up and you have wood next to your bed. You just you reach over and you load your wood stove from your bed, and you put it in, and usually there's some cinders in the bottom of the wood stoves that catches the wood that you put in. or you have these Duralogs that are naturally, or they're fabricated to be more to catch on fire quicker. So you put a Duralog in there, and the fire starts up again. The shanty warms up. Then you're able to get out of your sleeping bag. You're able to get dressed and ready for the day. If you want to stay in your shanty and just stay there for a while, or you can leave and go to the community area. And there, people are cooking on the large wood stove usually, or you can cook on the large wood stove. You can socialize, and you can do things with the community. So it's very flexible. Mm-hmm. Again, the qualities of the camp is that you have a sense of community here. Whereas a lot of shelters across America, Atlantic City Rescue Mission, New York City Rescue Mission, and most of the missions around America are based the same way. That you go there at night, maybe 5 o'clock, they'll let you in for a service and then a dinner, and then you could take a shower, and then you get ready for bed, you go to bed, and then you wake up at a certain time when they wake you up, 6, 7 o'clock, and then you have a breakfast, and then you're told you have to leave for the day.
You have to leave for the day.
And then you wander, you go to the soup kitchen, you go library or whatever. But again, there's no sense of belonging.
It's not your home. It's not your home.
Right. There's no sense of community there, really. Whereas, here in the camp, a person's tent or shanty is considered their own. They feel like that's their own. We're not saying, you got to leave at any particular time, So there's a sense of belonging and a sense of community, which, adds a lot to a person's sense of security,
absolutely,
sense of, well-being, a sense of purpose, a sense of organization. So, there's a lot of things that this camp provides that other programs don't provide, right. And that they're providing for their basic needs, but not really supplying for too many of their emotional needs, which is critical.
You told me in the car on the way over that you had gone to seminary and you're an ordained minister. What type of services do you have here for the people regarding that?
Okay, we hold services weekly, every Sunday, mm-hmm. Usually about 12:30. And again, it's open to anyone who wants to come. Nobody's forced to come.
Right.
And it's very, very, basic. Somebody, usually will play some music out of a loudspeaker, and then usually I'll speak for 20 minutes or so on some related topic, either to the camp or to a situation that is affecting the homeless in some way, so that they can feel encouraged. The best mm-hmm. thing to do, of course, is to raise somebody's self-esteem, somebody's sense of hope that, this is not a dead-end street. There's always possibilities. All things are possible with God, and so, trying to encourage them, because it's easy for the homeless to fall into a state of depression, a state of hopelessness, when they don't see any possibilities of coming out of the camp or out of the homeless situation.
That is another question that I had as far as the government or whatever, the powers that be. Is there any helps in helping people that do not want to be in this situation? I mean, to get into housing. I know, like, even some people tell me for Social Security helps or whatever, you have to have an address. I mean, how does that? Is there any?
Right. Well, of course, I'll let the homeless use my P.O. box for,
that's
as far as a mailing address, and of course they need that. And to get any type of government help, you have to have an address. So, the homeless can use my P.O. box. Of course, the government is doing something. The government of Ocean County is putting up about 1,100 homeless people in hotels across the county, mostly in Seaside, Toms River, some in Point Pleasant, a few in Brick,
and a
few in some other towns around.
None here in Lakewood?
No, there is no places in Lakewood that social services are putting up people. Again, it's about $1,500 a month that social services are paying for a one-room hotel room. Which is quite a bit of money for just a hotel room. And a lot of them are families. You have children with their parents living in a one-room hotel room. Children are going to school from that situation, which is, of course, you can imagine very difficult for the parents and for the children. And a lot of times, though, for the single individual, the maximum amount of time that social services will provide a room is about a year. And so that is usually the limit for a single individual, unless you can prove some situation which you can convince the social service agency that you're deserving of more time. Mm-hmm. But usually they'll tell you no matter when the year ends. I've had people in the middle of January, told by social services you can't stay in your hotel room any longer. Your hotel is up, and they've come down to the camp. So a lot of the people that are here in the camp have been through that year's worth of hotel space time and have ended up in the camp with no other options. That's it. The only other option is a one-way bus ticket down to Atlantic City Rescue Mission, 60 miles south of here, out of the county. Again, it's an urban environment, it's a cold environment, it's out of the social environment of the homeless of this area. They're not used to that urban environment. Most of the people here are used to suburban settings or rural settings, and when they get down to Atlantic City, they feel very uncomfortable, very uneasy. And so a lot of them in the past have gone down there only to come back again and to live in the woods of Ocean County, trying to survive and do what they can. So when I found this situation, 11 years ago, people living in the woods of Ocean County and saying, hey, these people need some more help. They need somebody to try to raise their standard of living to some degree. They were living under tarps. They were getting frostbite in their toes. They were dying of hypothermia. Sleeping in cars. They were dying from pneumonia. So I came across this situation where people really needed somebody to care about them, somebody to look after them. And so, that's what I did. At the time, 11 years ago, I was working a secular job for an electrical contractor in North Jersey, making a good deal of money. And so I was able, to use some of the money that I was making to help out the homeless. And so as time has progressed, here we are with 45 homeless people living in this camp and then other camps around Ocean County. But again, a zero-rated sleeping bag is something that we need for this winter time for people to be comfortable. Wood stoves, some tarps to cover the tents until we get into the real cold weather. But even the tarps will, we can even put those over some of the shanties to keep out the rain and keep in some more of the heat. And then just building material. Wood, 2x4s by 8 foot and 2x4s by 12 foot. And then what we have been covering the shanties with is just plastic, 6 mil clear plastic, usually 20 by 100. And so we wrap the shanties in the plastic, the clear plastic, and it helps in two ways. It lets in natural sunlight during the day, so you don't have to have artificial lighting. So it saves us money there, but it also brings in the sunlight for the greenhouse effect, which also warms up the shanty to some degree. But it also raises the spirits of the homeless. The natural sunlight does something to our psyche to stimulate us, to feeling better about our situation.
I have one question, a little bit as an interruption. How did you learn how to do all this?
Well, I worked for an electrical contractor, a high voltage electrical contractor for 17 years. And this contractor, we would do all the aspects of the contract. So we were doing some concrete work. We were doing just everything that needed to be done, that we could do. So, working alongside other people that had other skills, I picked up a lot of mechanical abilities, a lot of
What about outdoor living? Did you just learn that trial and error?
No, well, I've been always an outdoor person, even as a youngster, born in Michigan, a suburb of Grand Rapids. I just loved the outdoors. I would spend as much time outdoors as possible, down by the creek, just roaming through the fields and the woods, and just as a young person, loved the woods. Would build forts and all those type of things that young boys like to do. And then even, you know, as I was early 20s, I took 5 months off from work and traveled to the United States, just camping out of a camper van, Volkswagen camper van.
It was a learning experience.
Yeah, sleeping on the beach of Lake Superior, in the mountains, the Rocky Mountains in New Mexico and other places. So again, just loving the outdoors and, you know, spending as much time outdoors as possible. So again,
You did a lot of that before you came here to make this your home or their home.
Yes. Oh yeah. No, exactly. So.
What about your family?
Well, both of my parents have passed, and so my siblings are all out of state. They've moved. Some are in Georgia. Two of my sisters are in Georgia. My brother is in Delaware, and we're very busy. So
this is your local family.
yeah, you know, local family. And but again, you know, yeah, just consumed with a mission. You know, consumed with trying to raise the standard of living of the individuals.
Exactly.
That otherwise, you know, wouldn't have too much.
Well, I thank you so much for all this time that you took to, and certainly hope that we can make more people aware of the ministry that you're doing here.
Well, yeah, no, of course, I couldn't do it without the help of churches and individuals that have that same concern and see me as a, you know, somebody standing in the gap for them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pastor Steve.
Sure. Thank you.